So remember before the midterm we studied how to identify word classes, remember? Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, right? We have different criteria, like looking at the endings or looking at the position, the distribution of those words, right? And then we also study phrase structure rules, remember? We said that there are only 5 rules in English, right? Only 5 rules in terms of the structure of phrases. There are only 5 rules depending on what type of phrases you have, right? And there are only 5 rules in English, and these 5 rules allow native speakers of English to construct, to form any phrase in English, any sentence in English. And these phrases are noun phrase, verb phrase, prepositional phrase, and AP, including adjective or adverb phrases, right? And just a quick review. The NP, the structure of the NP is like you may have a determiner, right? This is in the parentheses, meaning that you may have a determiner. You may have AP, an adjective phrase, but you must have a noun or a pronoun, right? And you may have a prepositional phrase within a noun phrase, okay? So as in the big classroom in Munde, right? So the head noun is classroom, you see? I'm sorry. That's the prepositional phrase. The big classroom in Munde, okay? I'm sorry. The big classroom in Munde. Here, the head noun is classroom. So this is the N, okay? And you have the determiner, which is the, and you have the adjective phrase being big, right? And then in Munde is a prepositional phrase. You see that within a noun phrase, there could be one more phrase inside or another phrase inside. Okay? And an AP looks like this. An AP can have a degree word. It must have an adjective or an adverb as the head, and it may have a prepositional phrase inside. For example, fond of bibimbap. Okay, bibimbap, B-A-B. So fond is the adjective, right? And then PP, prepositional phrase, is of bibimbap here. Okay? And the degree word, you could add things like very, extremely, like that, degree. Very or extremely. And what does a prepositional phrase look like? It may have a degree word. It must have a prepositional to be a prepositional phrase. And it may have an NP inside it. For example, right on the table. So on is the head word, which is the preposition here. The degree word is right, meaning exactly on, right? Exactly on the table. The table here is a noun phrase like that. And the verb phrase, which is a phrase that has a verb as the head word, could look like a degree word here, and then other things in here, as in slowly killed me without force. So without force as a group is a prepositional phrase. Okay? And then NP here is the word me, and then slowly is the degree word. So you see that, in fact, even though we say that there are 4 types or 5 types of phrase, right, they look alike, meaning that if you have an XP, meaning any type of phrase, X is any. X could be N, X could be V, X could be P, X could be A. It could be any, okay? If you have an XP, a phrase of X type, could be N, V, P, or A. It consists of a degree word, optional, right? An optional degree word. It must have the X, whatever it is. X could be N, could be V, could be P, or could be A. And it could have another XP, another phrase within it. XP could be anything. And then that XP will have the same structure here. So you can substitute XP with N, so you can have NP. It could have a degree word. It must have an N because this is an N, right? N. And then it could have another XP, which is, in this case, a PP, like that. Okay? So this looks like a mathematical rule, right? The XP rule, like that. And the XP rule happens again and again and again. It recurs, right? Recur here, and so on. Here, 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 right? So in fact, we have, you can claim that we have just only one type of rule, which is that. The degree word for nouns are determiner, okay? Determiner. And let me add one more rule, which is S consists of an NP and a VP, meaning a sentence, when you build a sentence, no longer a phrase, okay? A sentence consists of a noun phrase and a verb phrase, okay? So to make a sentence in English or to make a clause in English, same thing. To make a sentence in English, you mix or you combine a noun phrase and a verb phrase together. So when you have an NP plus a VP, you make up a sentence like that. Okay? And the NP has that structure that we talked about already. Okay? This way of representing the structures, right, is linear, meaning that we do it from left to right, from this to this, right, from that way to this way, right? There's another way to represent the same structure by using what we call a tree, a syntactic tree, right? So it will look like a tree where you have branches, right? So let's pick one easy phrase like PP here. Instead of writing it from left to right, we can write it from top to bottom. So PP consists of a degree word like this. So this is one branch, right? And then it must have a preposition like that. And it may have another NP like that. So that's how we represent the structure of a prepositional phrase. Okay? And you see here, that is an NP, right? It's an NP. To represent the structure of that NP, syntax is the structure, right? Syntax is the study of the structure of phrases and sentences. So NP will have the following structure. So you can have one branch, which is a degree word, like that. One branch is an adjective phrase, right? One branch is for a noun, and one branch is for a PP, like that. So you see that when I do it like this, I do it from top to bottom, right? And you see different levels of things. So there's this level, let's say level 1. There's this level, which is level 2. And there's this level, which is level 3. I just call them by numbers, okay? What's nice about this way of representing is that you can see that level 1 is higher than level 3, right? Higher. This is lower, of course, from the tree structure. And it means that the PP here is the level 1 is the final product of people constructing a sentence or a phrase. And level 3 is the first stage product, initial product. In other words, when you want to make a prepositional phrase, let's say, write on the table. Write on the table. When you make that, before you make that phrase, first you start off with the table, right? You start off with NP. So we have the word the table here. Okay? You combine the word the and table. So you make up one noun phrase, right? The table is a noun phrase. This thing is a noun phrase. That's the first step. The second step is you combine the word the table with the preposition on. And you combine it with the degree word right to make up the final product right on the table. Okay? So that's how we explain what native speakers do when they construct phrases and sentences. Right? We use this type of representation. We use the tree representation to explain how native speakers of English or other languages construct phrases and sentences by looking from the lowest level and explain the construction up, right, upwards. Right? So the higher the level, that's the final product. The more like the final product it gets. Okay. So I'll show you another example. Let's look at, let's see, the big classroom in Inmunde. Okay, I'll erase this. The big classroom in Inmunde. The big classroom in Inmunde. Inmunde is a humanities building, right? Our building here. So by looking at that phrase, you know that it's a noun phrase because the head noun is classroom, right? That's the head noun, the most important noun. So it's a noun phrase because the head word is a noun. So a noun phrase looks like what? According to the rule that we have here, the noun phrase would look like this. A noun phrase, right, consists of a determiner, may consist of a determiner, may consist of an adjective phrase, must have a noun, and may have a prepositional phrase, right? That's the rule here, okay? And we write it out using a tree model like this, a tree diagram. So the big classroom in Inmunde, we have the being the determiner, correct? And the word big being an adjective phrase, right? And classroom being the head noun, and in Inmunde being the prepositional phrase, right? In Inmunde. But the prepositional phrase there consists of a degree word, P and NP. So we can have another level, degree word, P and NP. So we have in, there's no degree word, there is a prepositional, and then Inmunde is a noun here. Inmunde. That's the noun, right? Because there's no degree word in that noun phrase, there is no prepositional phrase after it. Okay? Like this. You can write like PP here or degree word here. Just like you do it here, right? Degree word, like determiner, N and PP. But there's nothing here in the sentence, in the phrase, in the example phrase. So you don't have to. But they could be there, okay? Big here is the same thing. It could have a degree word, it could have a, it must have a, and it could have a PP, but here we just have the word big, right? The big classroom. So that's why I just didn't write out these two, but they could be there, right? So from this tree, we can say that when you construct the phrase the big classroom in Inmunde, first you combine Inmunde and in to make a prepositional phrase, okay? And second, the second step is you combine the prepositional phrase with classroom, big, and determiner to make up the whole noun phrase, like that. So that's how we read the structure from bottom to the top. Because syntax is about how we explain the structure of a particular phrase or a particular sentence, right? And how native speakers construct the phrase or the sentence that they do. So that's what we did last time. Okay. Now we'll go on in syntax, right? And you know this already that when we talked about the structure of phrases, one thing that every phrase must have is the head word, right? The head word is the most important word. So in a noun phrase, the head word must be a noun. In a verb phrase, the head word must be a verb. In an adjective phrase or AP or adverb phrase, the head word must be an adjective or an adverb, like that. Okay? In a prepositional phrase, the head word must be a preposition. And other constituents of the phrase are usually optional, like the determining degree word or other phrases within that phrase. And the minimum size of a phrase is one word, as you can see in this case, right? The big classroom. You can say the very big classroom. The very would be the degree word here. But that's optional. Okay, so this one is optional. So that's why I said that the smallest size is just one word. Okay? The minimum size is one word. And then we already talked about how to label, right? A phrase is labeled according to the head. If the noun child is the head word, you label it a noun phrase, like that. Okay? Found the puppy, the head word is found, which is a verb, right? You know that it's a verb. So we label that a verb phrase because this is the head word. And how do you identify the head word? Just ask the question, what's the most important word in here? What is that phrase about? Found the puppy. It's about the action, right? Action of finding the puppy. So the head word is found, not the puppy, like that. Okay? And so we talked about the structure of noun phrases, right? So the head noun or the pronoun must be the head. So in here, the old desk collapse, I underline here the noun phrase, okay? Not including collapse. So desk here is the noun, the head noun. And you have the the determiner, which is the degree word, and also an adjective phrase here, old. Or it is just one word, which is a pronoun, and it is a noun phrase. The love for one another, we have love being the head noun, okay? And then there is a determiner. And then for one another, for is a prepositional phrase, right? And slowly reading old cookbooks is great fun. Reading here is a verb that has been changed to a noun, like that. Okay? And for the adjective phrase, is the same thing. Okay, so I'll go quickly here. And then for the verb phrase, each verb is the head of a verb phrase, like suddenly collapsed. So collapse is the verb, is the head, it's a verb, so it's a verb phrase. Suddenly is the degree word, like that. And gave a book to her classmate, gave is the V, the verb, and then a book is a noun phrase. To her classmate, to is a preposition, so you have a prepositional phrase here. So the structure of that one is like this, okay? We have gave, verb phrase, right? We have the V, which is gave. That's clearly the head. And then we have a book is a noun phrase. So it's a noun phrase, right? And then to her classmate is a prepositional phrase, right? And for the noun phrase, it has the structure like this. It must have a noun, which is book. A is a determiner, So we have a determiner here, A. And we can have a prepositional phrase, but there's no prepositional phrase in here. Okay? And then to her classmate, we have prepositional phrase here. The preposition is to. And then her classmate is another noun phrase. Right? With a determiner, her, and then the noun is classmate, like that. Okay, I'll explain this in perhaps 10 seconds, perhaps if you want to jot this down, to write this down. Now, let me explain, okay? To make, To make the verb phrase gave a book to her classmate, you start with this level, right? Combining the determiner her and classmate to make up one noun phrase. And then you combine that noun phrase with the preposition to make a prepositional phrase. This is bigger, right? You combine words to make a bigger phrase, right? And then you combine the prepositional phrase with the noun phrase and with a verb to create a VP, like that. Okay? And everything here behaves according to the rule that we predict, that we already predicted or we already outlined. So, for example, VP consists of V, NP, and PP. So, VP, V, NP, and PP. You see that, right? Or NP consists of a determiner and a noun, just like here. NP consists of a determiner and a noun, right? Everything behaves according to the rules. And PP consists of a P and NP. PP, P, and NP, right? And then there's another NP there. It behaves according to this rule also, okay? So in fact, every English speaker operates with only perhaps 5 rules. Or if you want to argue that it's XP consists of degree X and other XP, then it's only one rule, right? So by using one rule, we can generate any sentence, any phrase in English, right? And every phrase in English also. Okay? So prepositional phrase consists of a P and NP. Okay? Now, this is important. There are 2 types of prepositional phrases. Okay? There are 2 types of prepositional phrases. This is important because when we analyze the structure of a sentence, you have to consider what type it is in order to correctly analyze a phrase or a sentence. The first type is what we call adnominal PPs. Add means to or toward. Okay, to or toward. Nominal is noun. So you add the PP to modify the noun. Okay? Adnominal PPs occur in NPs. They occur in noun phrases where they modify the head noun or pronoun. So they behave just like adjective phrases. Okay? So, for example, the old desk by the window collapsed. Here, by the window is a prepositional phrase, but the type is adnominal prepositional phrase because it modifies the noun desk. Which desk? Is the desk by the window, the desk that is close to the window. So it adds more information, extra information about the noun. So we call it adnominal PPs. Okay? The second type is adverbial PPs. Adverbial PPs occur in VPs. They occur in verb phrases where they modify the head verb, right? So they behave like adverb phrases, adverb modifying the verb. As in, the old desk suddenly collapsed after lunch, right? So it modifies collapse when, right? It doesn't modify this, right? Not telling the this when, but collapse when, the action when. Or their love finally died from growing indifference. From growing indifference, modify died. As to what type of reason, right? So there are two types, okay? So here, just to simplify things, okay? This PP is not adnominal, right? Because it's not talking about what type of book, right? But it talks about gave to whom, okay? So it's more like the second type. It's more like that. Although technically it's not the adverbial, but that's too complicated. But we'll just say that it's adverbial type because it kind of give extra information about the verb here. Gave to whom, not the book, what type of book. It's not the book to the classmate, but gave to the classmate. So this is what we call the kind of adverbial type, not the adnominal type. Okay? The adnominal type would be like this. The old desk by the window, and it modifies the noun. Okay? So this is important. And the syntactic structure of phrase is what we already talked about, but you can represent the structure linearly, meaning you do it from left to right and you use brackets, right? But when you do it like this, you don't see the different levels, right? If I do it like 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 levels like that, using the brackets to mark off each level, you don't really see the different hierarchical structure. But we could do it like this to see the different hierarchical structure, right? So when you see a P, okay, when you see a P, the P level, it always branches off. It always branches off to different things, okay? If you see a P, it always branches off. But when you see a label without a P, like V here, there's no P, right? It's the end of the branch, okay? It doesn't branch off any further. Whenever you see a P, it branches off always, right? Because the P is the phrase level. Phrase consists of words, right? So it should branch off. But when you see a label without any P, it doesn't branch off any further because that's the end level, okay? You see a PP here, so P always branches off because it consists of many words, or phrases within that. So it always branches off, okay? So when we do it using tree, it's more clear, right? The hierarchical structure is more clear, right? But here, you can do it like that, different layers, and 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 is like the highest, the biggest chunk, but it's not as visual as the tree model, right? So we use phrase structure trees, okay? This is what I have been trying to show you. And you know that when we discuss functions of things, we have terms like subject or object, okay? We have things like object or subject. We can use tree to tell us what's the subject or what's the object as well. So remember that to make a sentence, you combine a noun phrase and a verb phrase, right? Remember this rule? S goes to VP and NP, right? Like that. So if we want to draw the structure, the tree structure of that, we would have S, that's a sentence, consists of an NP and a VP, like that. So same thing, right? I just do it in the tree model way. The NP consists of perhaps a degree word, adjective phrase, N and PP, like that. And the VP will branch off further, and so on, okay? Now, how do you define the subject or how do you define the object, right? So the VP can consist of a degree word, a verb, an NP, and so on. Okay? How do you define the subject or the object? We can use the tree to tell us what's the object, what's the subject. So in English, the subject of a sentence is the NP immediately dominated by S and preceded by and the NP that precedes the VP. So here, right? You see that the S dominates, meaning that it's over the NP. So the NP here is what we call the subject in English. Okay? In Korean, it may be different. Or in other languages, it may be different. But in English, the NP subject, the subject is the NP that's dominated by the S. Okay? That's dominated by the S and it precedes the VP. Okay? And what's the object? The object of a sentence is the NP immediately dominated by the VP. Meaning, this is the VP, right? So is the NP dominated by the VP? So it's this one. That's the object. So, for example, let's see, I or David is a noun here. David is a noun, so that's the subject. And then David read 2 books yesterday, like that. So 2 books would be this NP is the object of read, like that. Okay. So we use the tree to tell us what's the object, what's the subject, right? In the case of David, there's no degree word or determiner, there's no AP, there's no PP, like that. And read 2 books, you can have a degree word like slowly read 2 books yesterday, like read is the verb, 2 here is the determiner, book is the N, like that. Okay? But 2 books itself, that whole phrase is the object of that sentence. Okay? And the last thing is the object of a preposition. If people talk about indirect object, is this object. Another name for the object of a preposition is indirect object. The object of the sentence is the direct object. That's what people call it. And the object of a preposition or the indirect object is the NP immediately dominated by the PP. Same thing. So like in munde. So we have in as a preposition. In munde is an NP. So we have a PP here. So that's the object of a preposition. Now, we'll use the tree diagram to represent the structure of each sentence. So in the first one, I'll show you an example. Sue read a book to a friend. Sue read a book to a friend. That's a sentence, right? Because you have the NP Sue and the rest is the VP. So Sue read a book to a friend. To analyze the structure of this one is a sentence. You first start off by marking, because sentence is NP and VP, right? So the NP, you identify it first, Sue. That's the NP. And the rest, you don't have to care, because the rest is going to be your VP. The rest is the VP, right? Because the structure is a sentence consists of an NP and a VP. So if you can identify an NP, usually before the verb, okay, usually before the verb. The NP here is the NP subject, remember? We just talked about the subject. The subject is what precedes the verb, remember? And what's dominated by the S. So it precedes the verb. Now this is the verb, which is the head word in a verb phrase. So what immediately comes before the verb must be the NP. Okay? But be careful. If I have slowly, she slowly read a book to a friend. Slowly, yes, is before a verb phrase, but it's part of that verb phrase. It's not part of the NP. Remember? Because the structure of the NP is a determiner, adjective phrase, N, and prepositional phrase. Remember that. This is an adverb. An adverb is not in an NP. So it cannot be part of the NP. Remember that, right? So slowly say something about reading, right? The action. So it cannot be in the NP, okay? So the first step, again, is to identify, when you analyze the structure of a sentence, the first step is to identify the NP and the VP. So as long as you can identify the NP, the rest will be the VP. Okay, that's clear enough. So I'll just take off some irrelevant details here. Now that's the first step. The second step is to consider the structure of each thing, right? So we have S consists of NP and VP. Now you know that the NP is Sue. This is easy because there's only one word. So the NP goes to, again, determiner, adjective phrase, optional, must be a noun, and an optional PP. Now, what do you have in this particular case? What do you have? Do you have a determiner? No. Do you have an adjective phrase? No. You can say a big Sue, like there are many Sues like that. A big Sue, you can have that. But in this particular case, no determiner, no P, but there must always be an N. So in this case, N, which is Sue, right? Do you have a PP? No. So nothing else, right? Only the N is present here. This is 0, 0, 0. So we don't need to write it out, okay? But technically, they can be there, okay? Now, what's in the VP? The structure of the VP is like, there could be a degree word, there must be a V, there could be an NP, there could be a PP, and so on, right? Here, what do we have? Of course, the most important word is the head word, which is red. Now, what else do we have? Remember that within each phrase, you have, you see, one label that has no P, right? V has no P. Other things are phrases. NP, PP, degree word could be a phrase, like if you have a long one. So here is the V. Now, other things must be with a P. So here you have two. You see? A book is a noun phrase, right? Which is here. A noun phrase. And to a friend is a prepositional phrase. Like that. According to the rule that we predict or we discovered when we analyze different examples. The NP, a book, consists of, same thing, NP, this row. Determiner, adjective phrase, N must be, there must be an N and a PP. But here, what do you have? You have A, determiner A. And then you don't have an adjective phrase. Read a big book, you don't have that, but you have just the word book. So you have an N, which is book. Do you have a PP there? Like a book about Korean culture, a book about the US? No. So there's no PP. Okay? To a friend is a part of this, which is adverbial type, right? Adverbial type. So it consists of a P, which is to, and then a friend is a noun phrase. So we have a determiner, A, and then friend here. Like that. Because the structure of the PP is like PP, degree word, P, and then an NP. So this is the structure of that particular sentence. So first you combine P and NP to make a PP, and you combine this to make an NP, and you combine all of them to make a VP. And you combine VP and NP to make an S. That's how, intuitively speaking, that's how native speakers of English built the whole sentence. So they have to start with this level, and then they move upward. Okay? That's how syntacticians describe the knowledge of native speakers' sentence construction and also phrase construction. So we'll skip number 2 and we'll come back to do number 2, because if I do it now, maybe it will confuse you, because the structure of Korean is different from the structure of English. We'll come back to number 2 after we finish other examples. Okay? Let's do number 3 together, and then I'll have you do other items on your own. So let's do number 3. If we want to analyze the structure of number 3, we have the man with yellow shoes was reading a long book. Okay? The first step, you know that it's a sentence because it's complete, right? It's complete. The first step is to identify again which one is NP, which one is VP. Okay? So the NP is the noun phrase immediately before, immediately precedes the verb phrase. So where's the verb? Here, the verb was reading. So it's the noun, is the thing that precedes the verb phrase. So technically speaking, it's this part. That's the NP, right? Strictly speaking. And once you identify the NP, the rest is automatically the VP. So the VP is here, from this till the end. Okay? So I'll erase this. Now, at least you know that it has the subject NP, which is the man with yellow shoes. Okay? Not just the man, or not just yellow shoes, but the man with yellow shoes as a whole phrase, as the NP. And then the rest is the VP, okay? Second step, so that's the first step, identify the NP and identify the VP. The second step is, let's look at the subject side first. The subject side, NP, what does it have? Well, the structure, the full structure is like this: NP, determiner, AP, and then PP always. So here, what do you have? Do you have a determiner? Yes, the. So we write out the determiner, the, like this, right? Do we have an adjective phrase? No. It's not the big man or the American man. We don't have that. So we have to skip the adjective phrase. We must have the head noun, which is man. So man here. Now, what else can we have? According to the rule, we may have a prepositional phrase, which is exactly what this is. This is a prepositional phrase. Okay? The thing is, don't do it word by word. If you do it word by word, you might see, oh, with is a preposition. Yellow is an adjective phrase. Shoes is a noun. But then you have to look further than that, like take a step back and see how they combine. So because all of them combine to make a PP, so that whole group is a PP, right? Which is according to what we predicted earlier. So it's a PP. So we have a PP here, and the PP consists of determiner, PP, and NP. So determiner, degree word or determiner, we don't have. The next thing is a P, we have with, right? Now, according to the rule, what can follow the P? NP, right? According to the rule, the NP can follow the P, which is yellow shoes. So we have a NP here. Okay? So we have the NP consisting of, according to the rule, adjective phrase and noun. So adjective phrase and noun. So we have one adjective, which is yellow, and then the noun is shoes, like that. So that's the structure of an NP. So to make that NP, English speakers would combine yellow and shoes first to make an NP, and then they combine the NP with a P to make up a prepositional phrase, and they combine the prepositional phrase with other words to make an NP, to make the biggest NP. So this is almost the top level, right? Now you might ask me, and let me clarify this. You might ask me, PP here, why can't we just do it like this, Krista? P with adjective phrase yellow, and then N, shoes. Why can't we do it like this? Because we have with yellow shoes, same thing. But if you compare the two versions, this version and this version, you can see that this version is more detailed, right? And is more hierarchical than that. That one is flatter, is flat, right? Because it has only one level to start with. PP consists of these. But this one has at least this level and this level, 2 levels. And what this means is that in this version, let's say the first version, this is the second version. In the first version, you can explain the construction of the PP by saying that people first combine yellow and shoes to make a noun phrase, and then combine that phrase with another preposition, with a preposition to make a prepositional phrase. So that's the more detailed and more realistic than this version, right? And in fact, if you think about the phrase with yellow shoes, yellow goes with shoe, right? Yellow, the word yellow modifies shoe. So it should go with that. And then it acts as its own phrase, its own level. And then with combines with yellow shoe later on. So this is more accurate, precise representation of how we think, how English speakers think, rather than doing it like that. Okay? Or you can ask the same question to other phrases. Like why can't we do it like this? S, and then we do it like that. NP, VP, what is it? The man with yellow shoe, like PP here, adjective phrase here. Why don't we do it just 2 levels? Easier, right? 1 level, 2 levels. Right? Why don't we do it like that? Well, if you do it like that, then there's no use. There's no use representing the structure using a tree. Because the intention, the goal of using the tree is to show the hierarchical structure of things, right? Just as when we do the syllable trees, remember? We explain the syllable structure by using the tree in order to show that this is the nucleus, this is the coda, this is the onset, and how they combine, right? So that's the purpose of using the tree. The tree models what we have in our head and what we do in realistic time, in real life, kind of realistically representing the real-time construction of a sentence or of a phrase. Okay, so we'll have to do it in different levels like this. Okay, so this is not, the flat structure is not the way that is accurate representation. So where are we now? We have VP to talk about. So the VP, according to the rule, consists of a degree word, must have a V, and then other things are optional. So here there's no degree word. Slowly reading along book, no degree word. So we skip. So we have a V. We haven't talked about was and reading, so just have them under the V for now, okay? Was reading. And then maybe by the end of today or next week, we can label was as an auxiliary verb or helping verb like that. But for now, just combine them as under the V. And then we have, so we have the V already. Other things that a verb phrase may consist of, include an NP and a PP, but here we have a long book. A long book is, of course, an NP. So we have an NP, a long book, and the structure of that NP just goes like any NP, determiner, AP, N, and PP. So we have determiner, A, adjective phrase, and then N. N is the book, right? Just like that. Now, the AP. The AP consists of, I haven't done that. AP consists of a degree word, A, and another PP, right? That's the rule that we already talked about. So remember, every P branches off. Every P branches off. The AP will have to branch off because it's not the final level like det or N. AP will branch off like that. There's no degree word here. There's an A. There's no PP. So it only branches off into A, which is long, not big. Long, like that. Okay. So remember, every P level branches off to other things, to other phrases, or to just the head word. Because it's a P level, meaning it's a phrase level, it must have some elements, right, under it. But the head word like A or N or V or P, the head word doesn't branch off further because that's the lowest level. That's the most important, the word level, not the phrase level. P is the phrase level. Phrase level always consists of many things. But the word level, like man or the, they don't branch off any further. Okay? It's 4 now, so let me see, right? So it's 4 now, so let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back. If you stay here, we'll come back and we'll do the rest of the practice here from 4 to 8. So if you have nothing to do, if you are bored, do number 4 to number 8, okay? Or number 2 even, if you can. But number 2 is a little bit different from English because the Korean word level is different. So instead of doing it to, English is from left to right, right? English is from left to right. The NP is here, the VP is here. But in Korean, things may be in the opposite order. So from right to left. So you just have to branch off to the left rather than branch off to the right. So let's take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back and we'll look at number 4 to number 8. Let's look at number 6. Let's skip to number 6. Number 6, we'll do short ones first, okay? The cat on the mat in the house on the street slept. Okay? We'll proceed in the same order, right? So the first step again is to identify the NP and the VP that constitute a sentence. So the NP here, the NP subject is before the verb, right? So the verb is here. Slept is a verb in the past tense. So typically, the subject precedes the verb immediately unless you have an adverb like soundly slept or something like that, or quietly slept. In that case, quietly would go with slept like that. But here, we just don't have the degree word for the adverb phrase for the verb. So everything before that verb slept is your NP, and the rest is automatically the VP. In this case, you have just one word for the VP, right? So same thing, we start with the S, consists of the NP and the VP. Since the VP is short, so we can just start with the VP and get it over with. So the VP consists of, theoretically speaking, a degree word, the V, NP, and PP. But here we have nothing other than the V. So we have just one V, right, which is slept. Now let's take care of the NP. The NP, according to the rule, consists of a det, an AP must have an N, and a PP. So do we have a determiner? The head noun is cat, right? It's the cat that slept, right? It's not the mat that slept. It's not the house that slept. It's not the street that slept. It's the cat that slept. So the cat here is the main noun. So we have a determiner, which is the, and the head noun is the word cat. Okay? Now, what do we do? According to the rule, here, the cat is here. The cat is the head noun. There can be a PP there, right? So here is the PP, right? So the PP consists of a P and an NP. So PP consists of a P, which is on, and then NP, right? NP is this NP, right? NP consists of a determiner, the, and then N, which is mat. Okay? Now, if you look at the NP rule, the NP consists of a determiner, which is this, and an N, which is, in this case, the mat. And it can have, right, optionally, it can have a PP, a prepositional phrase. So, in this case, it has a preposition, oh, not there, but here, a prepositional phrase. Like that. Okay? And then that prepositional phrase follows that rule here. So it consists of the P, which is in, and NP, right? NP, which is the house. So the NP consists of a determiner, the, and then N, house, right? So far, so good. But that's not the end of it, though, because we just came to this point where we have the house, right? Now, that's an NP, right? This is the level of the NP. Determiner, noun. But it can also have a PP afterwards. And then, does it have one? Yes. On the street. Okay? So, the PP is here. And the PP, again, consists of a P, which is on, and then NP, the street, like that. Okay? Sorry, I'm running out of space there. So it seems that the tree looks like this, and it's heavy on one side. It's heavier on one side than the other side, as you can see, because we have a long subject, right? And that subject cat is modified by this PP, and the mat is modified by this PP. You can see that by writing it out this way, using a tree diagram, you can see what modifies what. Things that are on the same level work together. Det, noun, PP, they work together. And then you see that that PP on the mat modifies cat. And then this PP in the house modifies the mat, not modifying the cat. So using the tree diagram will tell us what things work with what things. Okay? Which things work with which things, like that. So I'll give you, we have about 5 sentences left. So I'll give you about 10 minutes to finish these 5 questions. can you draw 3 diagrams to represent the structure of these phrases or sentences? Okay? Again, following the same step. Follow the same step. First, identify the NP and the VP. Then, look at each NP and VP and write out the structure of each phrase. And at this level or at this point, you may have to look back at the rules, the phrase structure rules that we study like these, okay, to help you determine what comes next. Okay? But it's also useful to start out with at each level of the P to identify the head word, right? Because the head word is the most important thing, and then other things are around the head word. So if you can identify the head word, then to the left of the head word, you have these things that the rule already predicts, and to the right side, you have one thing that the rule would predict, right? That would help a lot. At this point, maybe you need to look at the rules, structure rules. But as you proceed along, these rules are not important anymore because they will be internalized, okay, later on when you have a lot of practice like that. So I'll walk around and I'll help you. If you have questions, which I'm sure that you do, just raise your hand and I'll help you explain. So all of these are determiners, and you use them to indicate the degrees of noun, different degrees like much, many, more, a lot, some, like that, or demonstrative, this, that, these, and those. And most importantly, articles, right? Articles like a and the. So number 4, Larry's mother may visit the professor's office on Monday. So we have Larry's mother as the subject, so that's correct, right? So that's the subject side, NP. And we have Larry's as the determiner because you see the apostrophe S, which is correct. Mother is the head noun, which is good, and they combine to make a noun phrase, right? Which is good. And we have the VP. Let's look at the VP side. We have may visit as a verb, which is correct. And then visit who? Visit the professor's office is a noun phrase, right? The professor's office is a noun phrase, one noun phrase, with the professors as the degree, as the determiner, because you see the apostrophe S here. And then office as the head noun, which is correct. And finally, we have on Monday, which is a prepositional phrase. The prepositional phrase consists of P and NP. And in this case, you have just only one noun, which is Monday. Okay, this is all correct. Very good. And at a high level of syntax, if you want to go on, the determiner will change to DP, and then you'll have to analyze the further depth of determiner phrase. But at this point, we'll just be satisfied. We'll be happy with this kind of simplified version. Okay. And then, so that's number 4. Number 2 is the Korean version. And I have the English translation here, which more or less is the same, is similar to the Korean, but sometimes we have to add a determiner because in English we require a determiner, right? Krista, in Korean, the word order is different. In Korean the verb comes last, okay? So instead of the verb being here as the first thing under the VP that we usually see in English, the verb is to your right-hand side, because in Korean, the object comes first and then the verb comes last. So we have a different way of representation, the opposite way of representation, but still more or less doable using the tree model. So we have Krista read, which is the V here. And then the book, 책을, so the book is here. There's no determiner in Korean, right? But in English, we have a determiner, and then the word book. 책을 is the object marker, so it's in there. And then to a friend, 친구에게, 친구한테. So we have NP friend, which is only one N, and then to is a preposition, right? In Korean, it's called postposition rather than preposition. Postposition. In English, it's preposition, right? Pre and then position. pre mean before. We say two friends in English. So it pre is pre-pose. You pose it before the noun. But in Korean, it's post position because you add the to or eke or hante after the noun. So we call it post position. Okay? So this, yeah.
For noun phrases, since it's Krista ka, doesn't there have to be PP as well?
Kristaka, right? In Korean, you have to add e or ga marker to a noun, right? So this is just a morphology thing.
We have to divide tek and
No, because you consider it as a word, right? You consider it in Korean. 책을, this is an object marker. For people who don't speak Korean, 을, you add that to an object to show that this is an object. 을. Just like you add s in English to words like trees. Do we have to divide it? When we do syntax, we don't. This is plural marker, right? In Korean, same thing. When you want to indicate that this is the book that was read, so you add 책을 like that, right? So you don't have to divide it because it's just a morphology thing. Now we are doing syntax, remember? If we do morphology, then we can divide up the morpheme into different levels. But this is the object morpheme, okay? This is just like the plural morpheme. And ga is the subject morpheme, right? So in syntax, we are not worried about the word level. We are worried about what is doing what, rather than the plural, the subject marker, or the object marker, okay? Just like in you guys say, I plant trees, just like maybe in this one, where's the tree thing? Here. They planted a beautiful tree near the park. So we have they as the subject, and then the rest is the VP. So we have planted as a V, and then we have a beautiful tree as an NP, and then near the park as a prepositional phrase. So we have plant, a beautiful tree. We have an NP here, consists of dead, APN, which is correct. And then near the park is a prepositional phrase, which consists of this and this, which is correct. And the NP consists of this and this. And the PP is correctly positioned because it's planted near the park. So the PP goes with the V, which is adverbial type, because it's planted near the park, right? You cannot hang a PP after NP like this. You cannot do that because it's not the tree near the park. It's planted near the park. Okay? Remember that with the VP can have a degree word, can have a V, can have a PP. And then the NP can also have a PP. So since both can have a PP, you have to be careful whether this PP goes with the verb or it goes with the N. So you have to ask yourself whether it's adverbial or adnominal type. In this case, it's the adverbial type, planted near the park. So it's this, right? V and PP. Okay. It's not the tree near the park, but it's planted near the park. Okay. If I change it to beautiful trees with an S, okay, beautiful trees with an S, so here you just don't have the determiner, and beautiful trees will have the S, okay? And we don't need to represent the structure of that word by having tree and S. Just like in Korean, you would say namu, namu들, right? Plural marker 들. But we don't have to do that separately on the syntactic level. And what else? She ran to the store. Here we have she as a subject, which is correct. Noun or pronoun, the same thing. Ran as a verb, and then to the store as a prepositional phrase that work with that verb. Adverbial, right? To the store, that's correct. And number 5, we have the president of the country. So that's the VP, that's the NP subject, the president of the country, which is here. All correct. And we have, what else? Gave, which is a verb, right? This is correct. And then an extremely boring is an NP, right? Is an NP. An extremely boring lecture is an NP, right? So NP consists of a determiner, adjective phrase, and a noun, remember, which is lecture here, right? And the extremely boring is an AP, consists of a degree word and an adjective, correct? Now, the PP here is part of the NP, which is correct. So we have lecture about the destruction of the city here. Remember, during World War II, this is a prepositional phrase, that's correct, right? But we have 2 choices. Is it the prepositional phrase that modifies the noun? Or is it a prepositional phrase that modifies the verb, right? Adnominal or adverbial. Here is the, is the modifier of destruction, right? Destroy when? Destroy during World War II. So it should be positioned as part of that NP. So I'll, let's see, can I erase this? So we have, let's see, where should I start? Let's see, about, and then NP. Now, determiner, the destruction, okay? And then of the city, this is correct, PPP of NP, the city. Now, during World War II, is it the city during World War II or destruction during World War II? Is destruction when, right? Destruction during World War II. So it should modify this, right? So it should be on the same level as that. So we have P during, and then NP in World War II. Oops. Okay. What's different in this version and in the previous version is that in the previous version, during World War II is attached to the NP here, the city. So it means that the city during World War II, which is perhaps not the interpretation or not the intended meaning of the destruction, the original speaker here. It's the destruction during World War II, right? Again, when we do the tree representation, whatever is on the same level works together. So NP consists of det, NPP, and PP here. It means that they all work together on that level. It means that the destruction work on the same level as during World War II, which means that the destruction is modified by during World War II, like that. Okay? If you have a PP here, the city during World War II instead of there, then it would mean that it's modifying the city. But the intended meaning should be destruction during World War II. If you look back at the noun phrase rule, it looks like that, right? you will see that there's only one PP that I indicate as the option there, right? But here we see two PPs, right? On the same level as dead, noun, PP, and PP. Dead, noun, PP. We have two. So perhaps we have to revise the rule, okay? By putting a mark there, plus, meaning you can have more than one, like that, okay? So this is how science progresses, right? When we, as we find more exceptions, we have to revise the rule, or we have to just throw away the rule completely if it's so wrong. But here it seems that everything is correct. We just have to add the plus sign, meaning there could be more than one.